I'd like us to move into thinking about the future. So you'll notice in your workbook that there are a few questions that help you to explore what you might be imagining. Whenever we begin to think about what resources might be in our lives that we don't usually think of, or what resources other people might be able to bring into our lives, and then we begin to think about if we are getting better at helping people to address negatives and getting to the positives and beginning to see more of the capacity and the possibility in our son and daughter's life, then what can that future look like? And then what actions are we taking? So I always think that when you begin to get an idea, one thing we've learned by doing lots of plans with lots of people is that when you create a plan, yes, you want to look at the future, and some plans are more global, some plans are more up close, more like today and tomorrow and the next week. But the idea is to take action now and to write plans simply. All right, so to think about your action plan. Now, some of us, when we were looking at our asset maps or even thinking about resources on behalf of our son or daughter, some of us maybe were not seeing what real possibilities there might be, or maybe are not seeing that there are resources that are helpful. And if you're in that situation, one thing I would encourage you to do, besides talking with the people here, is to get a few contact numbers of people who are willing to join you and think about your son or daughter's future and think about resources. The other thing I'd like you to think of in terms of an action plan is, okay, what would you like to do? Given what you've thought about the future, what you know about existing resources, what are your next steps to help your son or daughter get to that good future? One of them might be talking with your son or daughter, or finding a person besides yourself who works with him or her well, who knows him or her well, who can talk with you about the future, maybe help to organize a plan, or whatever your next step would be. And then I encourage you not to, in the words of the people who created the PATH plan, don't dive alone. Find a partner who can share some of these dreams with you. And it doesn't have to be your lifelong partner, but maybe somebody that you can talk to about your hopes for your son or daughter's future. Generally, when you're building action plans, there are 5 core values that John and Connie Lyle O'Brien have developed that every human being wants. They're your basic human core values. We all want a sense of belonging. We all want a sense of being respected. We all want to share the ordinary places that we like. We all want to and or need to contribute, and we need to be able to make choices about how we live our lives. So as you're looking at action planning and thinking about the future, think about how can we take one action that meets as many of these criteria as possible, sort of a conservation approach. So then what is person-centered planning? Really quickly, person-centered planning keeps the person at the center of planning. Success is defined by the person and the people invited to plan, not by systems, but by the person and people invited to plan. It engages the people who are most important to the person or who may have the best information to offer from organizations, systems, and community. It anchors resources, both paid and volunteer, in support of that person's or your family and that person's action plan. And it helps to organize future and everyday action in partnership. And what people have told us months and months after planning, even years after planning, is that that sense of teaming continued, that sense of teaming continued to work when you get the right people in the room. So invitation is important. And then there's 4 well-known methods, and if you'll notice, you also have a handout for resources. The 4 well-known methods are MAPS, PATH, and Essential Lifestyle Planning and Personal Futures Planning. MAPS would be used if the family that you're planning with, or if in your family the person has many dreams, but you have many fears. You would use a MAPS plan. A path looks at the future, and it's a powerful, motivating tool to get you to a big picture future. Essential lifestyle planning, it gets you to the future, but it's really about looking at everyday life and making sure that lifestyle works. And personal futures planning is about looking at life right now and what resources and contributions are available and or can you make to your community. It's really about looking at those community connections and building them from wherever you are right now. And as you'll see, the websites, just Google Inclusion Press for both Maps and Paths, the Learning Community for Person-Centered Practices, for Essential Lifestyle Planning and Personal Futures Planning, you'll find at Capacity Works. There are manuals that are very cheap at like $10 at Maps and Paths. I think also at Personal Futures Planning. And there are download self-help manuals for free at Essential Lifestyle Planning. There's many other tools. Also in your web resources, there's a website, Helen Sanderson. There's all kinds of workbook pages and small facilitations for various issues. So look, and as well as YouTube videos, all kinds of free material on that website as well. Whenever you're planning or whenever you're getting ready to have one of these conversations, first think, what is it I would like to achieve? Who do I want to be in the room? Who makes me feel good? Who might have information that would be useful? What is the most respectful way to include the person you love in the plan and or yourself? What's your best way to be included? And give a thought to welcoming in place, because when you're sitting down to do a plan, you're going to be there at minimum 2 hours, and sometimes you're going to be there 4.5 hours, depending upon the kind of planning you put together when it's one kind of plan. So you got to plan a little break for a meal, and you got to plan to be comfortable. So welcoming in place. And then person-centered practices, that's what you did tonight. Taking a break and thinking about who might I include, who do I know, what are my interests and gifts, what's this picture look like. That's an everyday person-centered practice, something you can sit down and do yourself or with other people. Learning from and addressing positives and addressing negatives as part of building a positive description. You can do that with other people. You can begin to do that with yourself and or your son or daughter. It's a great thing to bring into staffings with schools and staffings with whoever else you're doing staffings with. And I've had young people bring in that discussion of what's great about me, what's important to me, and how do I like to be supported to start out their IEP meetings. And it just starts everything out on a really positive note. And when the person can't read it themselves, you can put it on PowerPoint and the person can arrow people through it and you can help them to read it, or you can read it on behalf of your son or daughter. I have a friend whose son is able to speak very well, but does not care to give people the time of day if he doesn't know them. And I can understand that. But that is a problem in a doctor's office. So his mom helped him to create this description that he took with him to his doctor's offices so that when he suddenly had a gallbladder attack, right, as they're going out the door, he turns to his mother and says, "You better get my description because they're going to need that at the hospital." Right. Because I'm still not talking to him, I guess. But he had it posted on his bulletin board. Yeah, it's very helpful, and he relied on it. Integrating person-centered work. Basically, I say pick a practice that appeals to you, and try it out on yourself. Try it out on a friend, and then try it out with somebody you care about who might appreciate that support. Look at your routines with your son or daughter and the people you support, and find a time to use or people you support, and find a time to use one of these conversations, one of these tools to guide a conversation, and see what you learn. Remember, listening is core. Ask someone to be your learning partner, and this can be a learning partner for creating a future on behalf of the person you love, or it can be a learning partner on behalf of trying some of these tools out if you're in a workplace. look through the websites. There's loads of other strategies on those websites, and I find them inspirational. So if I'm in a position where I don't have anybody to talk to, which is rare, I'm lucky, right? I'm lucky. All right. But I go on those websites and I pull up Michael Small's video about important 2 and important 4, and he tells great stories about that. Or I listen to somebody else who is telling stories that it just helps me to see possibilities. You can also consider participating in facilitator training, and from time to time announcements go out on the network about that. If you're interested in being a facilitator, I do train facilitators, and you can just write me and let me know, and I'll put you on my list, and I'll let you know when there's one coming into town. And if I'm not doing the training, I usually hear who is, and I can connect you. Above all, remember, when we have these kinds of conversations with people, they're really important. People really do feel listened to, and they imply a promise. And they imply a promise to listen to not only what is said, but what is meant. And to act on what is heard, and to always find something that we can do today or tomorrow, and just keep on acting on what we hear. And to be honest and kind, and let people know when they're telling us, when what they're telling us they really want in their lives will take time, when we don't know how to help them get what they're asking for, but maybe we can help them do something else, something they would agree to try. And when what the person is telling us they want, really desire in their lives is in conflict with their best health and safety, with staying healthy and safe, we let them know we can't find that good balance. We're not sure how to proceed. Let's be honest, and then to find something else to keep working on in little ways. So person-centered work is a promise. And then I think sometimes people think they're supposed to know all these things about their kids, or they're supposed to know all this information about the people we support and the people we work with. And that's just simply not true, because these tools are designed to help us discover. And discovery looks different from day to day. So just to keep in mind, it's never, when is the best time to plant a tree, right? Well, most people will say the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. But the second best time to plant a tree is today, right now. It's never too late. It's never too late.